Dante's Discussion.
Welcome back to another edition of Dante's Discussion Answers. That's right, we answered that question that I put forth last week, and that question was, what would you change, if anything, about Dark Souls 3? PvE, PvP, whatever, the game itself, what would you change? Let's just start this right off, huh? How about we do that? We go to YouTube. Real Ogre 32 says, I want the Silver Knight weapons, the sword and the spear. I don't understand why they're not in the game. When they are in the game, every time I kill a Silver Knight, I look down at the beautiful sword and cry, one of my all-time favorite Souls weapons, and the Cestus shouldn't parry better than a buckler. I don't care what people say, there is no reason for that. I 100% agree with you. I don't know why they don't have it. I agree with you that Silver Knight, I mean, some of my favorite armors too. I mean, they give you the armors, they give you the shields. Why the hell not the weapons? What's the deal? I want a silver, I want a black knight, halberd, or lucerne, or whatever the hell he uses. I want the sword. Like, why wouldn't they have that? DLC, please. You know? Come on. You can fix this. You can remedy this. There's no reason not have it. As far as Cestus parrying better than a buckler, I agree. That's crazy because the Cestus isn't even there for parrying. They just added it, and now it's the best, most OP thing in the game for parrying. Like, that I definitely agree. A buckler should be the best, or a similar type of parrying shield, because that's what they're designed for. You know, they have the rounded edge or whatever, and it's supposed to reflect, and then you're supposed to be able to stab, blah, blah, blah. You get it. That's what's supposed to happen. I completely agree. Makes sense to me. Come on, From Software. Let's do this. Let's make this game better. Jeez. Next up, we have Alex Natter's Dark Souls World. Would love to see Dragon Slayer Sword Spear soon. Also, the idea of both hitting at the same time and then it resets is actually pretty smart. Well, yeah, I mean, I proposed this idea, and it's, you know, it's not like it's a new idea, right? It's sort of similar to how it almost worked in Dark Souls 2, right? Just the sort of the idea of, all right, because internet isn't perfect, and obviously everybody's internet is a little bit different than everybody else's, having a sort of reset if both players hit each other at the same time sort of just makes sense to me. Like, why would one get precedence over the other? And it's even happened to me on big weapons too, where both people have ultras, and then I've seen it to where both people can still swing, but somebody eventually wins out on that. But I don't know. To me, that doesn't make any sense. That really shouldn't be how it is. It should be some sort of reset if poise isn't exactly implemented. So, for instance, if you have an ultra, odds are you're going to break my poise, right? I'm probably rarely going to have more poise than you can break if you hit me with the ultra. Okay, but then I have a rapier and you're wearing Havels. If I poke you and you hit me at the same time, it shouldn't reset. They should get the precedence on their hit or the second hit because I didn't break your poise. However, if I had like a great sword and I hit you the same time you hit with the ultra, it should reset because we both broke each other's poise. That's how I think it should work. I do think hyper armor, again, and I want to stress this, I do think hyper armor is a good thing, and I think hyper armor should be in the game. However, I think the frames of hyper armor should be lessened to much later in the swing of the weapon, because a lot of times it starts too early, and I don't know if that's like an internet thing or whatnot, but it starts too early, and then people get caught. Like, I've hit people before they've even started their animation, and they still got the hyper armor. That's not good. That's ridiculous. I don't know, like, you can't. The only way you get around that is playing wait and see, which is a whole ordeal. It's ridiculous. Anyways, next up we have Joshua White on YouTube says, poise and not and make it not Dark Souls 1 and make it not as crappy. I guess, you know, if that's what you want. Make it not as crappy, not as garbaggio. Next up we have JS Pumpkin Ping. Pumpkin Ping. Great, yeah. JS Pumpkin King. He says on YouTube, it's not actually much, but I would change is the defense system and the heavy armor stats. Since poise is basically useless as Dark Souls 3, I felt like some heavier armor should be either lighter or has even more defenses. For example, Havels, I know it's a Scrublord armor set in previous titles because of poise, but now that poise is useless, I felt the Havel set needs to have some justice done to its ultra heavyweight. Speaking of defenses, I'm not actually a fan of From's decision about making defense scale down when you have more than 10 damage reductions. For example, if you have headgear 4 reduction, chest piece 11 reduction, gauntlets 3 reduction, leggings 8 reduction, in total it's supposed to be 26 defenses, right? but then you actually only have around 24 point blah 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 decimals. That's just annoying how they scaled down the defense bonus. That's all, I guess. Now, I didn't know that. That's new to me. I didn't know that they actually scaled it down like that. And that is, I agree, pretty dumb. I don't like the whole point of defense, and at least for me, the whole point of armor was you have the weight. So usually the higher the weight, the better defense, at least for physical, right? That's usually how it went. You know, if you had like witches stuff, the weight was low, but the defense on elemental was high. So it's sort of like a trade-off there. And I agree with you that armor almost doesn't matter as much. Now, I think it only matters in the sort of extremes, right? So if you're wearing basically, you know, nothing, the stupid cloth versus Havels, there's gonna be like a difference there, right? But a lot of the middle armors are basically the same, and I agree with you that there should be a difference in some way, or a little bit more of a difference, because that's crazy that it doesn't stack or that it nerfs it a little bit if you have too much. That's strange. I didn't know that. That's weird. I don't like that. That's terrible. They should definitely change that. He also then says, although contrary to you, I think the removal of poise and the implementation of hyper armor is really good. That means the non-staggered moves only applies to heavy weapons, which is why it's supposed to be, which is the way it's supposed to be, in my opinion. Now, I've actually been been going against somebody about this sort of specific topic, and I guess I'll give my opinion here. And I'm not saying your opinion is wrong. I don't agree with it. But I don't think hyper armor, the way it's implemented, is supposed to be the way it is. I do agree that there should be hyper armor, like I said before. I just don't think it should be as much as it is. I think it messes up the PvP game in general, because people have to play wait and see against people with bigger weapons, at least in my experience, from what I've seen and what I've played. 500 plus matches, granted that's not that much yet. I'm still going. Obviously people are a little bit better or a little bit worse, whatever, depending on the weapon you use. Of course, that's how it happens. The variables aplenty, right? But I don't think it lends to the game's PvP. Now, and I'm going in reference to Dark Souls 2, right? So in Dark Souls 2, my playstyle was extremely aggressive. I was almost always attacking. Of course, it depended on my weapon, but if I have a quicker weapon, I would always attack, always, forever, just waste all my stamina, try to kill them. That was my plan. Now, what I would try to do is I'd try to hit people before they tried to hit me with their weapon. It didn't really work with the Ivory King Ultra Greatsword, because that thing had hyper armor up the wazoo. I hated that weapon. But it did work with other weapons where you were able to hit somebody before their swing was actually active. Now, I have been caught with that, and that was sort of the that was sort of my parrying right now, the risk versus reward. I never really parried, but my risk versus reward was trying to hit them before they could hit me, so I could stun them and then, you know, continue the fight without getting hit. In this game, you can't really do that, because I don't know if it's the internet, because I know the internet frames are worse, according to people who said from 5 to 15 milliseconds. It's worse, so it's the bad internet hit detection versus higher hyper armor frames, which means you have to play wait and see. You can't really be aggressive, because you will be caught, and once you get hit twice, because that's how it works in this game, and you lose half your health, and it slows down a game, makes you play wait and see. It makes you play. I've been trying to be aggressive, trying to find a way to be aggressive, and it's very few. Even when somebody rolls, they're able to do their roll attack and hyper armor through that, even when you attack, and it's happened to me many times. And I'm trying to hit them. I hit them as they're rolling, and they still do the attack and still hit me, and they just hyper armor through it. That to me is like, that's nonsense. That should not happen. That's crazy. And I think it makes people play different. Instead of me trying to be aggressive, you can even watch it in my videos. When I see people with hyper armor or, you know, ultra weapons, I definitely play much more reserved, because I know what's going to happen. Like, oh, well, they're going to swing, and I'm not going to be able to hit them or break their poise. And it just, like, the frames are just so wide in whatever weapons. I'm sure weapons probably have more or less than others, but I think they should definitely reduce that. I mean, they also added to the a lot of big weapons is the ability to like shockwave stagger people or whatever, you know, where they don't hit them, but it's close, and then they can't do anything either. So, like, what up with that? And also, another thing that destroys everything is the fact that jumping attacks are like worthless in this game. You can stagger a jumping attack with a dagger. That's so stupid. So even if you jump attack with somebody, they harp armor through it, they hit you twice. So it doesn't matter. Like, what I'm saying is basically, even if they had like a Cestus or something to parry while having an Ultra, they have a lot of options. Now, granted, you can parry their one-hand attack, but still, like I think it's too much. That's what I think. That's just my opinion. Anyways, next up we have Septic Guy Sam said, I would change weapon times to be more like Dark Souls 2 because I could calculate a parry in seconds in that game. Also, I would change enemy movesets to be more random, especially with skeletons, especially headless skeletons, because it seems so boring and just really annoying if you play in NG+. Wow, that's interesting. Now, he went with the... I think he went really with both, but he went with more of the PvE side. Weapon timings to be more like Dark Souls 2 because he can calculate the parry. Well, I think that's on your preference. I don't think that's really a change that should happen. That's just something you want. However, I do agree that the movesets to be more random, with especially the skeletons, you say, which is cool. I don't particularly remember headless skeletons being, you know, the same or doing the same attacks, but I think you are right. From what I remember, they just do that overhand, the same overhand slow attack thing. Some of them do like the quick attacks though, so I'm not sure, but I do agree having more variety of attacks with enemies, NPCs in the game is definitely a key thing. Now, this is one thing that I actually like about Walnir, High Lord Walnir, which is interesting, is I didn't realize this, but there's like 5 different types of Walnirs you can fight. And I fought them finally. I fought Walnir probably 10 plus times, and I never saw him ever take out a sword ever. And the last time I fought him, he took out a sword, and it blew my mind. I'm like, what? I didn't know he could have a sword. It's crazy. I never saw him with a sword, and then last time I saw him with a sword, I'm like, that's crazy. That's what they should do. That's the thing that I probably would have never saw if I would have never went back with some friends, and I did. And I saw that. So, like, that's really cool they put that in the game. But I definitely agree that there should be more variety in enemies' attacks 100% because it makes the game more difficult, but not in a cheap way. Unlike hyper armor. My opinion. Okay? It's just my opinion. Your opinion is not wrong. My opinion is not wrong. Alright, anyways. Next up, we have Jerry Kokonen. Poise was balanced quite well in Dark Souls 2. In the end, in my opinion, Poise helped people who used it, but you could just as well see if someone was having a lot of poise and act accordingly. Poise gave Dark Souls 2 more build variability, but I don't mind it being gone because I never use poise really. Blue Sentinels and Blade of Darkmoon summons sure need serious patching. The only work for a small amount of players. I agree. I definitely agree with the second part. First part, I think I kind of agree. I do agree that the poise was done pretty well in Dark Souls 1. It was interesting because I've even faced people, if you look at the last tournament I had, no HUD mode tournament, lower level, somebody would wear the Taurus helmet or whatever, and that gave you like 40 poise or something, 30 poise, and it actually ruined me. Now, I knew they had poise, but I still thought I'd break it, and I didn't break it because rings were so much more precious in lower level than higher level. So, yeah, I mean, I thought poise actually was a thing in Dark Souls 2, and I thought it worked well, because if you saw somebody with Havels, you're like, okay, well, I can't really dagger them down to death, right? So, like, I agree with that. And I didn't really use poise myself either, but to say that you don't mind that it's gone, sure, but I feel like, why not bring it back, because this hyper armor is really griping a lot of people. Blue Sentinel's Blade of the Darkmoon summons, again, like, why would they add something again that people classically hated? No one liked that you had to be summoned. Like, I think it's a cool concept in theory, but they've done it and it sucked because, you know, you're trying to get summoned in, but no, other people get precedence, or maybe your internet's not the best, or for some reason you're just not in the system. I've been summoned in maybe 6 or 7 times, and it seems like I'm getting summoned in more and more as time goes on, but, like, come on, that's ridiculous. Like, stop. No one wants to do that. That you have to wait there and get lucky, basically. That's crap. They need to change that somehow. I don't know how. Maybe have a statue where when you go there, you're in a sort of line to be summoned or something. I don't know. Maybe that's how they do it now. I don't know how it works. Next up, we have Nathorn. Nathorn says, I would like Great Shields to be nerfed. Not cool when you need a specific weapon or build against them. Also, when the boss in the area is killed, you can summon less people. That should be changed too. Then there's the Warden Twin Blade Insta Bleed combo, which is ridiculous. I wish there would be a lot more weapons too. And I missed the Ultra Parries when two-handing great weapons. I think I agree with every one of these statements. I don't really know about the Warden's Twin Blade Insta Bleed as much, but it does seem like it can be pretty annoying. But Great Shields do need nerfs. The Great Shield of Glory, I think I said that. I can't remember if I said this before, but the Great Shield of Glory, I had that out and it's upgraded to +9, not even fully 10. And I was having matches with people like a half hour. I was fighting people forever. And because I had the Sun Princess ring on, I literally was gaining life. And then I think eventually I lost because they started doing like bleed or something. Like the whole idea was I wasn't attacking them. I was just blocking just to see how long. And I think then finally they switched out weapons. But that's what he's talking about. Needing specific weapons for certain or specific instances like that. Like that person wasn't even close to breaking my shield or my stamina. Like I had just like full stamina forever, it seemed. Yeah, so I agree with that. Great shields, and I actually think shields in general need to be nerfed. I think their stamina takeaway should be much higher when you hit it. I think it probably double. Every time you hit a shield, it should be double the stamina than it was. And then even more so when you use that ring that does more stamina. So that's what I think. Because, I mean, I use a shield a lot in my left hand to block certain attacks because some ranges I'm not, super certain about. And it also helps me close the gap with ultra weapons. But yeah, there's not enough. I don't think there's enough things against shields to sort of make them as powerful as they are. And then he says the insta bleed with the twin blades. Yeah, I don't really know about that. It seems crazy. And then ultra parries. That was one of people's favorite things, and also one of the best moments I had in Dark Souls 2. And I had the ultra no HUD mode tournament, and somebody got ultra parried. Like, you just can't. Like, obviously, it's ridiculously difficult to do, but when you pull it off, the satisfaction you get from that is just so damn high. Why wouldn't they bring that back, Everybody loved it because it was difficult. That was just one of the things. Yeah, I mean, more weapons. Of course, they're going to get more weapons with the DLC, I'm assuming, but I do agree. I think the weapons are a little bit lower than Dark Souls 1. I could be wrong on that one. Or Dark Souls 2. Guillermo Celeste says, Poise! Yeah, sure. Poise should be there. We go on Fextra Life here. Nescient says, I'd release patch notes detailing a myriad of magic buffs and new spells, then blank. Can the whole thing after 72 hours, insert some dialogue from an AC title along the lines of, please accept my apologies. That briefing you saw was manufactured. Get good and watch for the honor demo for the 1000th time. But I'm weird. Otherwise, remove the weapon upgrade matching and bring back signs, invasions, post-boss, and add bear traps. Bear traps would be awesome. That's interesting. I don't know why that came up, but yes, bear traps would be awesome. Post-boss signs. I think somebody else said it. I must have skipped on accident, but yes, not allowing you to summon more people after you beat a boss. Not allowing to beat a boss again by bonfire static or whatever way to do it is ridiculous. It's a step backwards. Like, that's straight up a step backwards. You can't argue that. That's a step backwards from Dark Souls 2. That's Dark Souls 3. Why wouldn't you do that? No, I'm sorry. I don't want to play through the whole entire game again to get to this boss, just so I can fight this boss, just so I can not be invaded as much or not. Actually, you can't be invaded at all once you beat the boss, which is dumb. That's so stupid. Why would they do that? One of the biggest parts of the game that everybody loves, at least me specifically, invading, and you can't do it after you beat a boss. Dark Souls 2 did it. Well, they did it later. They patched it a little bit. What they did was, after you beat a boss, you had like 20 minutes or 10 minutes downtime to where you couldn't be invaded, and you can just turn that off whenever you wanted. That was a perfect system. I don't understand why they would take that away completely. Ugh. It's so annoying that they do that. All right, next up, we have, on Fextra Life, Azad Greysand says, 1. Return of the power stance. I love the power stance. It sucks they took it away, but they added like 3 double weapon things or whatever. 2. Revert fist, whip, and dagger animations back to Dark Souls 2. Not sure exactly what he means by that. I know the whip has an amazing range. And daggers, so far, I haven't really used a dagger, but so far they seem underwhelming. I could be wrong. I'm not sure. 3. Remove friendly fire between phantoms when using red eye orb. That I don't agree with. I don't really understand what he means by that, to be honest. I'm not sure what he means by that, because you would always be able to hit any reds if you were red, right? So I'm not sure what he means by that one. Between phantom when, yeah, I'm not sure. Put it in the comments below. Tell me what you think on that one. 4. Add twin blade type weapon. They have sort of twin blade, from what I understand, but true, they don't have enough of certain type of weapons that sort of just took away. 5. Cut 8% duration of scythe weapon art casting time. Man, that's interesting. I haven't used sides much to really understand what he means by this, so I'm sorry, I can't really comment on it. I know with the animation time with the butcher's knife, doing that weapon sharpen skill is crazy long. It is so long, it's amazing. Number 6, add the legendary hilt casting for combat type catalyst, sword and pickaxe. Hilt casting for combat type catalyst. Does he just mean like Hazel's axe or whatever, like that type stuff? Again, I'm not positive. I'm not a magic mage character, so at all. So I have no idea what they mean by that. Number 7, enable invasions on already cleared area if hosts use dried finger. Yeah, that's exactly what it should be. Well, actually, I think you shouldn't have to use dried fingers at all. I think having to use dried fingers to sort of almost guarantee an invasion is dumb. Because, like I said, with my first playthrough, I didn't even know you had to do that because I was on blackout. I didn't read anything online, and I barely got invaded. I think I got invaded like 3 times my whole first playthrough. And then somebody's like, "Oh, you got to use dried fingers." Like, well, what the hell? How am I supposed to know that? It's ridiculous. You should not have to do that at all. But I can sort of see his logic in this, as in after you beat a boss, if you want to be invaded, you can use dried fingers. I kind of see that. It's sort of like a middle ground thing. I can sort of see that, and they also have to add that you can summon in as many people as you want, and add a freaking shade. Add a shade or something. That sucks. It sucks you can't summon in any whites anymore. I know like ganking's a thing or whatever, but they could still gank if they really wanted to. If that was a big deal, they would just go back to that boss, or go back and not beat that boss for that area, and then they could summon people in. So like, it's not really helping anything. It might be limiting it. I will be honest, I've been ganked very few times. But still, like, come on. Ganking is part of the game. I mean, let's be honest. Even though it sucks, even though no one wants it, somebody's going to do it, and somebody's going to find a way to do it. Whatever. And next, last... Oh, not last. Second to last. We have, back on YouTube, iChronical says, "I'm very happy that poise is gone. I really hated people in Dark Souls 2 with high poise using a rapier with old Leo ring, but I do agree that the way hyper armor works in this game is not a good solution, though it does make the big and slow weapons more viable, which I like. I think your idea about 2 people hitting each other at the same time and then both getting staggered to reset the fight is a good idea. The Cestus has actually already been changed in the latest patch 1.05. I think they're at 1.06. I could be wrong. The recovery time is now slower, which is good, so you can no longer spam it as fast, which is still fast. I think it's still faster than others. Yes, we need bonfire aesthetics. That's definitely true. They make our lives so much easier. Yeah, it sucks that you have to keep the boss alive to host Fight Club. You should always be able to summon 5 res, just not white phantoms. Well, that's debatable, I guess, right? Medium shields are fine, but great shields, OM jizzle, they have way too much stability. This is true. There's almost no counter for them. The only thing you can really do is use bleed. Me and my friend tested this with pretty much every great shield, and we both had the same amount of stamina. You will run out of stamina faster trying to kick a great shield than the person blocking with the great shield. Like, what the F? How is that fair? I kicked his great shield 6 times, and then I was out of stamina, but he was in Dark Souls 2. Did this way better. 1 guard break, and their shield is down. Doesn't matter how much stamina or how much stability. People who turtle need to be punished heavily, in my opinion. I'm also glad that adaptability is gone. I disagree. I understand your point about being people being able to roll out of everything easily, and people who roll spam, but you still can roll catch people very reliably in this game. That is true-ish They can use the Karthus ring and I believe the Milk ring, and it is actually extremely difficult. Your timing has to be probably frame perfect. With certain weapons, you can literally roll catch people to death if you time it right. That is true, again, if they're not using the Karthus or the Milk ring, and or. He then says, on a side note, Dark Souls 2 PvP was pretty bad when it first came out. That's probably true. I can't remember. I didn't really play it early on. There were a lot of game-breaking glitches and mechanics that took months for them to patch and change, so there's still a chance that a lot of these things we don't like about Dark Souls 3 will be changed in the future. That is true. There is always hope. And there's a lot of things he said here, and I appreciate this. It's really well thought out, really well written, which I appreciate. He's happy that poise is gone. I'm not happy. I understand, your gripes for it, but there's usually a counter to everything, and that's almost always been true. Part of the problem with having specific counters for specific things is it makes you have to play a certain way, and that's what my problem with Hyper Armor is. You have to play a certain way. As far as I've seen, as far as I know, you sort of have to wait. You can't be super aggressive because it just doesn't work. I mean, I posit when you go up to somebody, and of course you don't want to choreograph what you do, so you go up to somebody and you wait for them to swing. They swing, okay. They don't swing again. It's like, should I swing? It's like, well, no, you have to. It's a dancing game, sure, but you still have to wait because you can be caught at any damn time because of how Hyper Armor works. I'm glad the cestus has been changed. The recovery time is now slower. I think it should probably be even slower. People use it. I don't know if it's the same with the claws. Probably. Bonfire aesthetics obviously need to be there to make everything easier. 5 reds, just not white phantoms. I think there still should be white phantoms, if not shades, which are only in the game for 5 minutes or however long if they keep killing. Like I said before about the ganking, ganking is going to be a part. If somebody really wants to gank, they will find a way to gank. It's just how it works. Medium shields are fine. Great shields, I agree with you on this. Great shields are absurd. And yes, you're right with the kicks. I personally think it should be one kick and you're done. But if they did that, they would have to probably slightly nerf the kick time, because you are able to do a roll kick, and it's really extremely fast. It's really fast. So the kicking animation itself is pretty fast. So if you go back and revert back to the one kick shield break, then you probably should make the shield bash or whatever slightly slower, because it might be too fast. I don't know. Just in my experience, I don't know, and I could be wrong. Obviously everything can be countered, like I said, so you could probably get used to that, it being super fast and blah blah blah. Yeah, I mean, I've like I said, I had a invader who was just literally do nothing. I was just toying with this person for a half hour. Then they tried poison. Poison didn't really work because the poison buildup was really slow. Bleed, that was the one that really worked. And you're right, bleed was basically the only thing that kind of worked. But even still, I could then just take out a sword and probably just beat him up. I don't know. It's even one-handed, it's decent. Two-handed though, if you two-hand that, you can't get through it. Like he said, you can kick forever. You can probably put on that ring, and you'll notice that your stamina is going down a little bit faster, but you can always back up. You can always, reset and let go for a second to get your stamina. You can use, the green blossom or whatever, and there's just so many ways to use the shield annoyingly. I've not seen it personally. I've only done it a few times, but man, it is ridiculous. But I do like that. Or actually, you said you're glad adaptability is gone, and you say you understand my reasoning for it. And like I said, if you're wearing the Karthus, because I've seen people wear the Karthus, the Milk Ring, and I think they were some sort of mage character, and it was extremely difficult to even hit them once. I think I have the trolley video on one of the earlier playthroughs. Extremely difficult. And you're like, well, what do you mean by extremely? You still won, right? It's like, yeah, I won maybe because my playstyle was a little bit more aggressive. I knew how to handle the situation, right? But the fight took 20 minutes, half an hour or something. I forgot how long it took. But let's say they just healed. Let's say they healed, or they had the healing spell, or the Sun Princess ring, blah, 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 all this other stuff. They could do that forever. They could probably do that forever, honestly. And especially if they even had a shield. Like, they could just do that forever. So that's, I still like adaptability for the, for the ups and downs of your build, for the good and bad. Like, oh, do I want adaptability or do I want more strength so I can actually hurt people? I like the balance there, but now everybody is on the same playing field, and some people can only get better, which, to me, I don't know. I'm not into it, but I can see what you think. And again, you're not wrong. It's just my opinion. Last up, we have from Joshua White. Again, he's back. He says, Bloodborne. He loves Bloodborne way better than Dark Souls 3. Actually, way better than all the Souls games combined. And maybe that is the solution. Just play Bloodborne PvE, not even PvP. Don't change anything. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I read yours off. I hope you enjoyed my commentary on my thoughts, what I think about this specific issue, whatever, fixing game, what would be better. Sort of a broad topic, and I hope there is hope out there that it can get better. It will get better. I mean, I have faith, right? It should get better. Why wouldn't it get better? Why wouldn't they listen to people? Bonfire static. I think that's probably the most egregious thing they have. Because you can get out of hyper armor, like I said, wait and see playstyle. You can get away from getting parried to death. But bonfire static, being able to summon more people after you beat a boss, like, that's so ridiculous. The Blade of the Dark Moon, whatever, those Covenant type specific things, I don't think they're going to fix that. If anything, they might make the drop a little bit easier off of enemies, but I don't think they're going to fix that, which sucks. But yeah, there's always hope. There's always hope. I hope you enjoyed this. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think, and I will be back.